Aeneg by Cáel. Chapter 6. 2 months later, Jana cursed blue bloody murder into the comm lines as the session ended, the last Memph having been slain, and all that was left to do was to shift the bodies to the lab. Calm down, Jay. Silas hushed her, removing his comm so he wouldn't have the duality of her screaming beside him and directly in his ear. It wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad? He took out everything! How the hell does he expect the rest of us to keep in shape if he never leaves anything for us to fight? I expect you to be faster, Cáel shot back over the comms, before emerging from behind a wall. What are you going to do in the real world if the building doesn't look like the maze? It hardly matters when you go over the top and ignore the bloody maze, she yelled. The doors to the lab opened, and Damien stood there, the expectant look dying on his face as soon as the woman rounded on him. I am not training with him again, Jana screeched, pumping the Memph body at her feet full of ammunition. Her rage in full swing made even the commander step back. That's what you said the last time, Cáel smirked, bumping the short brunette out of the way as he started dragging his own corpse towards the lab. The woman raised her hand and shot him in the back. You shot me! He gasped, as though he were genuinely surprised. You were begging for it, she shot back. Be grateful it wasn't a real bullet. I would have aimed better. Cáel, Damien warned curtly, letting a wide-eyed Silas slip by, so the rookie wouldn't be caught in the middle of the reoccurring argument. We talked about this. What do you expect me to do? The man drawled, as he dumped the kill on the table and leaned against it. Nothing interesting has happened this week. Those foraging missions you've been sending me out on have been nothing but routine. They're boring. That doesn't mean you get to take over training so the rest of us have to deal with your problems, Jana hissed, dumping her own corpse on top of his. Damien, I'm not babysitting this freak again. Listen, little girl, Cáel growled, taking a threatening step forward. Just because you got thrown by a different layout, you're suddenly pissed off at me for clearly being the better scout. Skill has nothing to do with it, she shot back, squaring up to the loon. You could have at least let us have something. Get better, he barked. You think you're the only one who's bored to death in this goddamn city? Then why don't we have a go at each other, pipsqueak? He grinned darkly, bracer whirling. I know you've been dreaming about it. Don't tempt me, asshat. I'll put you in the ground. Promises, promises. Are you narcissistic? Her gauntlets whirled and his bracer hummed. Egotistical. She was so fed up with him. Entitled. She was going to put a bullet through his brain. Little cockroach! You know they don't die, right? She screamed as she leveled her gauntlets with that infuriating smirk. It didn't matter that they wouldn't kill him. Then again, she hadn't tried a point-blank range before. She was going to stop it, both of you! Damien shouted. His voice echoed off all the metal equipment in the room. You're both just as childish as the other. He sighed, and Jana could have smacked him for comparing her to a freak like Cáel 6. You're both getting out of here. Today. Jana's heart dropped into her stomach. What? Damien, you can't kick me out just because he... No, this isn't fair. Cáel should be the one to leave. Why am I being punished for him being a dick? I'm not kicking either of you from the city, Damien interrupted her panic. Shut, Jana, I would never. Trisha's heading up a mission further out of range than usual this afternoon. The ground is too soft for the city, so we'll be on a perimeter. If nothing else, the walk will do both of you good. Pass, Cáel chimed, ready to walk out, only to have Damien grab his shirt, spin him around, and trip him back into the space beside his fellow scout. Jana would be lying if she didn't feel a small thrill of justice at the freak being manhandled into place, and so easily too. He may have had the monsters beat, but that was only because he claimed their wild nature didn't scare him. People like their commander could run circles around him. It's untouched territory, Damien continued, glaring both of them into submission. And you will both be back here in 8 hours. The hint that they not murder each other in the meantime may as well have been a neon sign with arrows pointing at it. Jana accepted his order with a resigned nod, and the grown toddler stood slowly, hands up as he grumbled, sure, whatever, and reached down to heft up both corpses from the table where they had been unceremoniously dumped. His version of an apology, which Jana begrudgingly accepted after Damien gave her a warning look. Who else is on the team? Jana asked, hoping against hope she wouldn't be alone with this hooligan. If something did go wrong, she wouldn't trust him to have her back as far as she could throw him. Silas, Maish, and Trisha's team, Damien answered her with a smile. You had a perimeter mission planned and didn't put me on it when you know I need it? Cáel frowned. Was that betrayal? Jana could hear in his voice. He doesn't owe you 6. Initial scopes of the site showed it abandoned. Damien defended himself simply. I didn't want you getting bored. Now I see that was a mistake. I'm volunteering the 2 of you so you don't start shooting off in the middle of the field again. Cáel snorted. She started it, and I'm ending it, Damien growled. Or so help me, I will revoke both your rights to carry well within these walls. Jana's face pinched unhappily. It sucked that she was being included in this. But it was nice to see the freak cower. If Damien wasn't such a prude about monogamy, Jana wouldn't have minded climbing him like a tree to get a taste of that power. I'll be there, she confirmed. Damien nodded and offered the woman a grateful smile. He reached into his breast pocket, pulled out a box of cigarettes, and handed it to Jana. Remember to rest up before you go. Yes, Mom. She rolled her eyes, took 2, and gave the rest of the box back. Lighter? Maish, the man hummed. She nodded and walked off. I can't believe you're still supplying her, Cáel grumbled. She won't be civil with you without some form of payment, Damien shrugged. Damn right, the woman's voice reiterated from behind the wall. Damien sighed deeply. You 2 are the best we've got. It would be better if you could get along. Cáel rolled his eyes and waited until he heard the elevator taking her up, before raising an eyebrow at his friend. I don't really have to go, do I? The look Damien gave him could have killed. Cáel, the soldier said his name threateningly. If you're not here by go time, I will personally drag your ass down to the dock and kick it through that door. You know I sleep in the buff, right? Cáel teased in an attempt to get his way, but it clearly wouldn't be happening today. Then you're hunting naked. Damien was entirely serious.